that? How about that? The camera's turned off right as President Barack Obama is going to take questions from the mayors, which might have actually been one of the most interesting parts of this event.
Pretty standard, though. You know that.
Yeah.
There's nothing special about that. I got to defend the guy on this one. The mayors didn't sign up for a press conference. They signed up for a meeting with the president.
Exactly. Let me introduce the two of you. Thank you for joining us. Kiki McLean and, of course, Pat Buchanan joining us now. You just see the president talking to the U.S. mayors. This is something that happens at the White House often, but clearly the White House trying to pivot. This is now the first day of his second year in office to jobs, jobs, jobs. But, Pat, on the very day that the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, essentially puts the nail in the coffin of his health care reform bill and says, I don't have the votes for the Senate bill.
This is a strategic disaster for the president. A lot of Democrats are bleeding from every pore because they've walked the plank for this thing, and now they got nothing. So I think they've got a real problem, and I think it's really incumbent upon the president to pick the pieces he wants in health care and get something done, even if it's bipartisan, whatever, and then start moving to this jobs thing. But today, you got another report, bad news for the president, for all of us. Apparently, jobless claims are up, and the Dow Jones is down a couple hundred points, so not good news all around.
Kiki, Pat says Democrats are bleeding from every pore. Are you bleeding from every pore?
No, we're bleeding from every pore. I'm a little more optimistic than my friend Mr. Buchanan here. There are days we've agreed he's been an advisor to more than one president, and this is good advice he's giving. And
yeah, but this kind of talk with mayors is not the kind of, I mean, he's going to have to reposition more than just rhetorically.
Well, but his conversation with the mayors today is an important one. As you well know, Nora, mayors and the president have had long, deep ties because of a couple of things. Number one, they're both CEOs. The mayors are on the ground in hard politics, and the mayors are held accountable for, as he said today in his remarks, solutions, making stuff happen. The fact that we've hit a challenge, I don't think we've hit a wall. I think we've hit a real challenge. If health care reform was that easy, it would have already been done by 3 other presidents. Fact of the matter is, we've hit a political hurdle, we've hit a policy hurdle. A good president doesn't give up. He goes back in and figures out what's the landscape now, to Pat's point.
Hurdle or roadblock?
No, I think it's a hurdle. And I think because we can continue to move forward, the question is, how do we move forward and in one shape or form? Because let me tell you something else.
Well, then they're going to have to dictate that from the White House and not give all the power perhaps to Congress in sort of deciding what to do. Because if they're going to do this thing piecemeal, they're going to have to say what their 3 priorities are in terms of reform and get those things done and rack up some victories.
The president pointed to something that's really important. Remember, these guys in Congress and in the White House, they all got elected on a series of promises. It would have been wrong for him to not try to do this, and he has to continue to move forward with some kind of solution making. To
Pat, your top 3 choices? You do it piecemeal?
Look, cap and trade is finished. I mean,
no, I mean on health care in terms of like insurance reform, more money for Medicare.
Quite frankly, what I would do is I would go to the Republicans. You want to get them, do tort reform there. I think the pre-existing condition aspect of it, and there's a number of other very attractive aspects that I don't think anyone will vote against. The problem is, how do you put them all together and then make this package deficit neutral? And I don't know, well, they're not there yet, and I guess they're going to have to start working on it after Pelosi basically raised the white flag.
Let's just remind everybody, our NBC News Wall Street Journal poll about the main issues for Americans. Job creation, economic growth, 38%. National security, terrorism, number 2. The federal deficit, 3. And health care, number 4 there at 12%. I was looking, of course, at the papers this morning, and that the Democrats now want to raise the debt ceiling, or have to raise the debt ceiling, another 1.6, right? $1.9 trillion. I mean, if you're fed up, like voters in Massachusetts, with continued bloated government, it looks like the Democrats are going to raise the debt ceiling. Aren't you going?
Two of your three top issues: deficit, jobs. Economics.
Yeah. So let me make a point here. Just the presidency is fluid, just like time is fluid. Things have happened since he got elected, right? The conversation the 3 of us have a year from now and 2 years from now, as he goes into a re-election, will be different. Just because there are other things who are moving up doesn't mean you don't finish something. You're 4/5 of the way done, and that's what he's trying to do. Healthcare does affect jobs. You're right. He needs to be talking about jobs and not just talking about it, but moving on, and that's why he's laying out these plans. Part of this is also stabilizing financial regulatory reform, hugely important, so that we don't get there again and have it fall apart again. The president's got a big job. It ain't easy, but he's working on it, and he's not walking away from it.
All right, Kiki McLean, Pat Buchanan, thanks to you. And, of course, we have Chris Lizza with us now, who's going to talk about what political stories are going to make the headlines in the next 24. Chris?